I was gonna rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lynx is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children. Praise be to Allah.
Are you saying now, Mike?
That's right.
Hey guys, welcome back to Speech Made Simple. My name is Justin. I'm a qualified speech pathologist, and you may have guessed, today we're talking all about lisps. A lisp is a type of motor speech disorder that affects a person's ability to produce certain consonants. The consonants that are most commonly affected in a lisp are our S and our Z, or our S and our Z. What tends to get overlooked is sometimes we can also lisp certain sounds such as ch, j, and sh. But typically it's our s and our z. You might be thinking, Justin, what exactly is a motor speech disorder? And put simply, a motor speech disorder is when we incorrectly coordinate and use the muscles required to make different sounds. So you may have noticed this sometimes, that when you make different sounds, you use different kind of tongue positions, you might use your lips differently. So for example, if I was making a you can see my mouth's almost like a bit of a smile, my tongue is behind my teeth, compared to a shh, where my lips are more like a fish, and my tongue is slightly more back in my mouth. So just to summarize, a motor speech disorder is the incorrect use of the muscles required to produce a certain sound. Coming back to lisps, typically the S and the Z sound, or our S and our Z, become a th. So for example, the word sun might become thun. You can see how different the placement of my tongue is in that situation when we're trying to get our s and it becomes th. There are many different reasons why someone might have a lisp, and the majority of these reasons occur at a very young age. However, lisping doesn't have any specific origins that we know of. Your teeth can cause a lisp. For example, if you've got an overbite or an open bite, this can increase the chances that you lisp. Large tonsils or a large tongue or a misalignment of the jaw can increase the chances that you lisp. A tongue thrust could cause a lisp, and a tongue tie that restricts the movement of the tongue can also lead to lisping. Research also suggests that someone who's tired, anxious, stressed, or talking really quickly can increase the likelihood of a lisp. I know recently Donald Trump was seen with a lisp. Maybe one of these factors led to him suddenly having a bit of a lisp. There are 4 different types of lisps. The first type is called an interdental lisp, and this is when the tongue protrudes between the 2 front teeth like this. And that S sound becomes a like I gave in the example in the beginning. The second type is called a lateral lisp, and this is when the air flows around the sides of the tongue. It sounds very slushy like this. So you can hear that air flowing around the sides of my tongue. In an S, we want the air to flow straight forward, but in a lateral lisp, the air goes, and you can rarely hear that slushiness. The first 2 types of lisps are our most common lisps. The third type is called a dentalized lisp, and this is when our tongue pushes forward, doesn't go beyond our teeth, but touches our teeth and creates a distorted, muffled S and Z. It sounds like this. The fourth and final lisp is the palatal lisp. This lisp is by far the least common lisp, and it is when the middle of the tongue comes in contact with a soft or hard palate in the mouth, also distorting that S and Z. Just to highlight again, the lisp is not only with sounds like S and Z, it can also be with our sh, our ch, our j. There are different sounds that you can lisp on. It's not just the S and the Z. When I first went into speech pathology, I thought it was only the S and the Z that we could lisp on, but it's not the case. You might ask, is it ever age appropriate to lisp? And what we know is, if it's a dentalized or interdental lisp, it is age appropriate to have this until around 4.5 years old. However, lateral and palatal lisps are not part of everyday speech sound development, and it is recommended that if you have a lateral or palatal lisp, that you see a speech pathologist or speech therapist for assessment and perhaps intervention. It's also important to say that just because you have a lisp, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you and you should look down upon it. If it's something that doesn't really affect you, there's no need to bother. There's lots of adults who still lisp and it doesn't really faze them and it's not a problem. It's not something that is gonna really affect you. You can own it, and sometimes it can become part of your personality. Look at all the celebrities and people I showed you in the start of the video. It's just part of who they are. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate the support. I know today's video was a bit shorter, but in my next video, I'll be going into the treatment for the 4 different types of lisps, starting with an interdental lisp.